life, which is fertilization.
But that's your opinion. So there isn't actually scientific evidence that states that human life begins at conception.
There is a tremendous amount of
Dog,
scientific
kill me. No, why do we do this? No, why do we?
You are completely wrong. Because
and I wish someone had been helping you more.
Listen,
That's the other thing.
listen, but you weren't there.
More help.
Everybody always likes to say, keep the baby.
I don't. Yes, give me. I love you, Jubilee. Yes, give me more. Give me more of the emotional, intuition-based domestic violence arguments. Yes, let's never talk about philosophy. Yes, give me more people screaming at each other. Yes,
So you would prefer a world where there are less rights violations than a world where there are more rights violations. Is that correct?
Of course.
Of course. Okay. So in a world in which someone shot and killed a born human baby, you would prefer that world over someone destroying a tray full of frozen zygotes. Under your worldview, if those
massive reductio. Let's see how she coped with it. This guy's based and awesome pilled.
There are more rights violations happening. A tray of frozen zygotes in petri dishes would be worse under your worldview than a world in which someone shot and killed a born baby.
Yeah,
Can you concede to that?
I think we were talking about this sense
Can
of
you concede?
Come on. That's it. You said it yourself.
So if someone is unconscious, are they no longer a human?
They still have connections with the thalamus and cortex with another generation.
Sorry. I thought she was gonna make a good argument. No, she just went right to, well, if someone's unconscious and they're still a human, even though Lila is religious, she believes in the soul. She believes the soul enters the zygote at the moment of conception. As much as she'll give her secular arguments, you're never gonna change her mind with a secular argument because she is religious. If you want to see more content like this, I would really appreciate you liking and subscribing. It really helps with the algorithm. And make sure to check out the Discord and other social links in the description. I won't even say I have a super high conviction take on abortion right now because there's infinitely more good discussion in just Discord VCs and chats about abortion from people who have actually read philosophy papers than there is in these types of environments. Okay, so we'll fucking see.
It does break my heart that if you're sharing you had an abortion, that there could be a child, I don't know how old they'd be, 10 years old today, who would be cheering you on saying, go get it, mom, you got this.
I can promise you that would not be the case. With your statistic and your information,
your baby had a right to live.
You don't get to speak for my child. You don't get to speak for my child. Let's start right there.
Hey everybody, I'm Lila Rose. I am the president and founder of Live Action. I am a mom of 3, a wife, and the host of the Lila Rose podcast. And today I'm surrounded by 25.
Would you prefer to be aborted? Sometimes, guys, I don't know.
My first claim is abortion leaves women scarred for life.
Hey.
Hello. What's your name?
Julia.
Julia, nice to meet
you. Okay, so from my understanding is scar means permanent, and I would argue that life is permanent. And so by not allowing women to an abortion, you're basically saying you have to have this permanent being that exists in this world.
Death is also permanent. And that's what a lot of women struggle with,
Incredible.
especially on the anniversary when that baby would have been born. For many women, again, I've talked to hundreds just personally, but there are thousands and millions more out there. On the anniversary of when that baby would have been born, 1, 2, 3, 4 years old,
Dude, fuck this. Fuck Kyle, if you're watching, fuck this stupid medieval combat mod you got that doesn't allow me to fucking hit the mobs in a mob grinder.
There's deep regret and pain, and some struggle with mental illness afterwards or other struggles, or they have fertility issues. There have been several studies done that show that women have higher suicidality who have abortions than that women that give birth. There's a California study, which is
Research on abortion and suicide risk is contradictory, often influenced by research and funding bias. Okay, base. Thanks, fact checker. I would imagine the women more likely to get abortions are also the ones more likely to commit suicide in the first place. I would imagine that's true intuitively. I don't have any evidence on hand to back that up, but I would imagine that's the case anyway.
200,000 Medicaid patients, 150% more likely to commit suicide if they had an abortion.
Study examining 173,000 California Medicaid patients found the suicide rate for women who had an abortion was more than twice as high compared to those who gave birth. The research was conducted by Elliott Institute, a pro-life group.
Abortion than if they had given birth.
Right. So I think
what do you think about that?
So I have a lot. I have a lot about that. I also want to talk about the fact that, from my understanding, is you did go undercover into Planned Parenthoods, and I have many friends that work at Planned Parenthoods. Which honestly, I'd feel a little unsafe if someone was going undercover to mask something.
Do you know
also,
what we
the other
were
thing is women
in the abortion clinics?
Oh, hold on a minute. I think abortion is not an easy choice for women. I don't go, oh, you know what do I want to do today? So go see a movie or have an abortion? It's not an easy choice, girl.
Why is abortion not an easy choice?
It's not an easy choice for any woman.
Why?
Why? Because you are literally deciding your own future on your own terms, and you're allowing women the choice.
And why is that decision so?
I understand the answer she wants to get is, because you're ending a life or whatever, but can we not, trying to find a way to lay out my fucking OBS better so I can see if I get taken down, but there we go.
So heavy. For example,
Also,
I could go in.
the decision's heavy because you're
I could go in and get a wisdom tooth removed, and I'm not going
Great,
to
an
have
elective
this
choice,
heavy,
much like an
I'm not
abortion,
going to
which
have this heavy decision around it. Why is abortion such a uniquely heavy decision?
Why
It's
are women the
because-
only ones
it's because
having to
it's
choose these and
involving-
we're shamed instead
it's
of men?
it's involving
Because the
an
men who are
innocent human
committing
life, a
acts
new
of
child.
assault.
I believe it is. I believe there is mostly women here. I know there's like 2 men because I recognized one guy. I don't know if he ever spoke because no uterus, no opinion. Am I right, fellas? I don't know if he ever spoke, but it's the Mason guy who I've seen in other Jubilee videos.
I don't think they're father of the
Why,
year,
Maida?
quite
Do you
frankly.
hate woman,
If they're committing
Maida?
acts
What
of
the hell,
violence,
Maida?
We're in total
forcing
agreement on that.
abortions.
We're in total
Great.
agreement on
Okay,
that.
you're a mother. How many adopted children do you have?
I don't have any adopted
Okay, so
children,
what about all the
but I would
children
love
that
to
are
adopt
forced?
one day.
Okay, so great. Let's call the agency tomorrow. It'll take a couple years to go through the adoption process.
Well,
leading
are you
children in
aware-
foster care
are you-
into the system.
are you aware
thus
that
affects them and
There
causes
are
scarring against the women that
there
have
are
to make that
2
choice,
million
bro. Like,
families.
what?
There are 2 million families who would like to adopt a newborn baby and they can't.
Okay, are you helping them? Because if you're providing resources,
we
like,
do
you should-
promote and help them, but you know
great.
what?
I watched all of this girl speak and a little bit of the next girl, right? I remember I pre-watched it because I'm evil. And I've already rehearsed everything I'm going to say. This just seems like the easiest, like, like, I don't know, maybe just response that come to mind for her, but like, obviously no one says that you are entitled to adopt a child, and under some ethical views, you are entitled to your own body, and that would be the justification for abortion, at least so long as you're not harming someone else's. Well, I shouldn't say someone else's, but well, someone else's body works because the someone there implies a moral subject. Although some people say even if the fetus is a moral subject, you should still have a right to an abortion because of the bodily autonomy thing. But like clearly, some people believe you're entitled to your own body. No one believes that you're entitled to adopt a child.
You know,
why are
the
there
reason why they can't
100,000
adopt, the reason they're not able to
Yeah.
adopt is because we have 1 million abortions a year. Our country kills
Well,
children.
those, if there were
We have
access
1 million
to safe
abortions a year.
abortions, I would say that a scarring exists.
And those are all
physically when
legal
they have
abortions.
unsafe
To be clear,
abortions.
those 1 million abortions a year are all being
You're
done
Catholic,
legally.
right?
Real, not too
Are you
bad.
not going to feel Catholic guilt when all the women are dying in parking lots from illegal abortions?
So people with
You know, fucking Avi Bitterman ever reply to my DMs? Okay, I'm sure we could have a great. I'm sure I need him to. He's an actual doctor, and he seems to think that sentience emerges in fetuses a lot earlier than a lot of other doctors do. And I'd be curious to ask him about it because I haven't seen him talk much about it. But he never replied to my DMs. Okay, so fuck that guy.
women are dying right now from legal abortions. Women who take
See
the
that
abortion
zinc
pill,
flash? What?
30,000 of them are going into the emergency room every year because of the abortion,
to
the
get my
legal
dog.
abortion
Doctors
pill.
are now in fear of
The
malpractice
media is
because
lying
of
to you
people-
guys. The media is
Oh,
lying to you guys because
okay.
legal abortion kills women. It killed Tanya Reeves and a Chicago Planned
True.
I have a
Parenthood.
lot of friends about abortions. They're live.
Legal-
I was talking to them yesterday. They're pretty chill. They're actually
What
pretty
about-
great. They're in therapy
there's-
because they made that choice to have children when they are ready.
I mean, I don't know. Obviously, it's dumb to like say, "Oh, legal abortion kills people." Like, okay, brother, skiing kills people. You still like have a right to ski. It's about like weighing the like constant benefits of these things, and like abortion, obviously has a pretty big benefit for a lot of women who don't want a fucking child. And then like I don't know. I'm sure she knows the numbers, and I'm sure it'll come up at some point. Like, what's the actual risk of dying due to an abortion versus dying due to childbirth? I'm sure she has numbers on it, and I'm sure she has the numbers favorable to her, and then the real numbers might be slightly more ambiguous, but
ready to have
But
children. which
there's
is what
tens
you're
of thousands of women who go to emergency rooms because of the abortion pill. There are dozens of women who die from
if they
legal
had safe
abortions.
access in
And that was-
education,
those
sex
were-
education
but
early on,
Those were
women
safe,
and
safe
men
legal abortions that they
okay,
were
well,
having.
men and women would have access to education to understand sex.
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to
Thank you.
seat.
Nice to meet you.
Hi,
What's your name?
Demi.
Demi, nice to meet you.
So I just want to clear it up. When you say scarring for life, what do you mean?
I mean, it leaves at minimum emotional wounds on many women and some of them physical wounds.
I think something to focus on is the emotional part.
I mean, I would imagine a chemical abortion is not going to leave much physical harm in most cases, but do we really I would assume most women are informed that getting an abortion is going to leave a DNC or whatever abortion, I think is when they actually go in or whatever. It's going to cause some amount of physical scarring, but who is that? Is it that serious? I'm not a woman. I don't know.
It's the shame that you get from pro-life activists. I know what it's like to go to Planned Parenthood and walk out and then see people protesting, calling the women murderers, chanting religious prayers at them. I think that's what's the scarring part emotionally.
What, the sync spark? It's an inorganic signature of human egg activation. Oh, that's when the soul enters the body, guys. What?
So I've had the privilege of interviewing now almost 1,000 women who've had abortions and hearing their stories. And many of them share about how everyone told them it was the right thing to do, that there was nobody opposing it, and they had the abortion.
But you run a pro-life
and then years later,
organization.
and this is their story. And then years later, they would say,
focusing on people.
well,
who
this
do
is
that.
their story, not mine. And they would tell me, and they would
Like, I've spoken to a lot of women who don't like abort. Yeah, you work at a pro-life, like, what do you expect? Like, true? Based? Okay, based?
report about how after their abortion, sometimes it would be years later, they would remember it and they would say,
What about the
I
other
wish I had
stories
never
out there
done that.
who don't regret
Or they
it?
would face mental health challenges, they'd face addiction.
Yeah, but what are the people who
Some
don't?
of them would face infertility.
You're not interviewing the people who don't regret it, who think that their life would have been worse off if they didn't get the abortion.
So I think if what you're saying is there's some women who don't regret it, I think it's absolutely true. There are some women who would maybe sit right here and say, I had an abortion, I don't regret it at all, it was great. But that doesn't mean that abortion isn't leaving women scarred for life, because it is.
But you're generalizing
those
it,
stories
saying that's
usually
like
aren't
all women.
those stories aren't usually made or told by typical media groups. Usually in media and in the entertainment world, you hear the stories of the women that are saying abortion is great, it empowers me. There are thousands
one
and thousands
is
of women
saying that.
who experience bitter abortion regret.
People,
and then there's also
women can have abortions and they want to have kids in the future, but they know that they're not in the position for it right then and now, so they can have guilt, they can feel sorry. But that's not all women, and that's totally valid.
I think there's a stigma today, if I may, I think there's a stigma today on a lot of women that they can't share their abortion regret, because society is telling them that abortion's your right, it's empowering, it's a reproductive freedom, and so if you have abortion regret, there's not really a space to share that.
Stigma. You're feeding into the harmful narrative.
What harmful narrative?
Bro!
Are getting abortions, and then that they shouldn't feel regret about it because they're murderers, and that they should own up to their actions. That's what the pro-life people are arguing.
I think what our narrative, if you want to call it that, is to say this is a human life. The science tells us this. It's always wrong to take a human life, and abortion does leave deep scars on a lot of women. Thank you. Hi, what's your name?
Jax Prince. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm Lila.
So, based off, you've given incredible points. Genuinely and truly, I'm learning quite a bit.
Thank you.
So, for the people that you say have the abortion young, how old do I look, out of curiosity?
You're never supposed to answer that, right?
No, go ahead. By all means.
Will you tell me you'll do me if I do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You are 25.
I appreciate that. At about 10 more years. So,
Okay.
by
You
your
look
logic,
awesome.
thank you.
You look amazing.
By your logic, I should be in that age range of people who abort. Let's say.
I need
you
a
know,
fucking
who should
another
be feeling
monitor
regret.
so I can fit all this shit on my screen, because I need to make sure I can see if YouTube takes down either my stream, the main stream, or the YouTube short stream.
And everything. If I had carried a term, I would be labeled a drug-addicted black mother, and if I had kept the baby, I would have been labeled a incompetent single mother. So my question for you is, what is your perception of how I should feel about my abortion?
So a couple things. First of all, sometimes the regret happens later in life. It's not within even 5 or 10 years. The trauma they feel might come out later when they have their own other children or grandchildren. So every woman, it's going to be different. Sometimes it's immediate, sometimes it takes years. I mean, I think you're amazing. I think if that's what you've overcome in your life, I think that's incredible. And you should be proud of overcoming so many tough things in your life. It does break my heart that if you're sharing you had an abortion, that there could be a child, I don't know how old they'd be, 10 years old today, who would be cheering you on saying, go get him, mom, you got this.
I can promise you that would not be the case, because I can almost promise you that would not be the case, because I say again, I'm in a domestic violence shelter. I've got a
true,
dog
Mina.
I can barely take care of. You're expecting me to sit here and let you tell me how I'm supposed to feel. You're trying to scare me.
I'm not telling you how to feel.
Yes, you are. Yes,
I'm
you are.
not telling you how to
with
feel.
your statistics,
But I am telling you that your baby,
your statistics
your
and
baby
your
had a right to
information,
live.
with your statistics and your information,
Your baby had a right to live.
You are completely wrong.
And,
Because yes,
and I wish someone
yes.
had been helping you more.
Listen,
That's the other thing.
listen, but you weren't there.
deserve
That's
more
just
help.
it. Everybody always likes to say,
they're never
keep the baby.
I don't. Yes, give me. I love you, Jubilee. Yes, give me more. Give me more of the emotional, intuition-based domestic violence arguments. Yes, let's never talk about philosophy. Yes, give me more people screaming at each other. Yes, like they almost touched on the thing there. Like, your baby had a right to life. No, it didn't. Like they almost got there, but now they're back to this.
We give it up for adoption. I know what our foster care system is like.
But when you
can't tell me I would have a child cheering me on.
When you place a child for adoption,
hold on. You're not
don't go into foster care.
You don't get to speak for my child. You don't get to speak for my child. Let's start right there. You don't get to speak for my child. Like, oh, mommy would be cheering you on or everything like that. You don't fucking know that. You don't know that at all. You don't know what my child would be. I may not even have my child, because I was so unfit at the time. Drug addiction, sex work, everything like that. Yes, I'm a proud pro-ho. That is exactly what I do. But you're telling me how my child would feel. And what gives you the right?
I
What
would
gives
hope
you
that
the
for your
right?
child.
What gives you the right?
I would love to respond to you. I think, yes, your child had a right to life. And I would say that I wish there were more people helping you at the time. It sounds like you were at a really rough time in your life. And I think that you mattered, that baby mattered, and you both deserve more help. That's what I would say.
That's what you would say. But you're saying my child
Mida
is cheering
hates
me on.
women.
I would hope that
Confirmed.
you
No,
chose to
that's
parent.
the thing. You said you would hope.
I would hope
You
that.
would hope. So all of this is going off of hope.
Please return to your seat.
Okay, last point. Kind of valid though. Kind of valid.
Hello, what's your name?
Miriam.
Miriam, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So I just want to start off, and you're saying that a lot of women have abortion regret, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to tell you about what happened to my best friend's mom. She had a late-term abortion, which I know you don't find morally acceptable, but
How
her
far
baby,
along was she?
She doesn't find any abortion morally acceptable. I don't know why her.
Sure, the exact week. But she was told that her child would not live for more than 1 hour. However, if she gave birth to that child, she would never be able to have children again. That is literally what they told her. I'm so glad that she was able to get an abortion because my best friend wouldn't be alive if her mother wasn't able to have an abortion before she was even born. So I just yeah, there are some women who regret abortions, but we shouldn't just ban all abortions because of some of those women regretting it.
So I
there
have
are
heard,
many
True.
women.
I love your
Finally.
I've heard so many stories of medical professionals who tell the woman, you have to have an abortion, X, Y, and Z.
Okay,
right?
we're not gonna address the actual point that she's making. That like clearly we shouldn't ban something just because like some people might regret it. We're not gonna address that. We're just gonna go to, actually, your mom should have had the baby get fucked. Like.
And then I talked to many other medical
Do you have a medical
professionals.
degree?
If I can
Please.
finish, I talked to many other medical professionals who say if you have a high risk pregnancy or there's a disability that the baby has, there is healthcare for you to protect both your life and the baby's life. That's what women deserve. They don't deserve to be told by the abortionist or the doctor, just kill this baby. That's the solution. Have the abortion. So we can do better for both the mom
She has to separate the abortionist from the doctor.
and the
Isn't
baby.
she protecting
Dr. Anthony,
potential life?
just as an example, Dr. Anthony Levatino, he worked with tens of
Thought she was
thousands
gonna
of
say
high-risk
Fauci.
pregnancies in upstate New York, dealing with these very high-risk pregnancies. He said in the number of pregnancies where we had to do an abortion was 0. Sometimes we would have to do an early delivery, but we would never have to intentionally kill the baby
So
to
you
deal with the
think
health
that
risk for
abortion
the
is
mother.
never medically necessary, right?
So correct. And so as an example, your friend, right? You said she had a late-term abortion because her baby had a health issue.
Never. What's your definition of medically necessary here? I know, like, technically, I'm sure like there is, another option or whatever. But like, if those other options are significantly less safe, and like the abortion would be safe and save your life or whatever. Like, I'm no doctor, but I feel like that could fall under the bucket of medical necessity. I don't know how it's technically defined, but
to die, and then otherwise she would have an issue. The doctor, and Dr. Anthony Levatino as an example, could have done an early delivery to give that baby a chance at life instead of intentionally killing that baby in
I don't
utero,
understand
which is
how
what
you
an
can
abortion
sit
does.
here across the
There are
table though
thousands of
and
medical
tell me
professionals
what
who fight for both the life of the baby
you
and the
can't
mother.
tell me what my best friend's mother
Slaving
could have
on an
had
abortion,
done.
I'm
She
positive
deserved
it's
better
a real
medical
concern in
care.
her
She deserved
life. Despite the fact that she's a drug addict who... well, no, she wasn't saying... What do you mean? Her point was that she didn't regret her abortion. Was that on her point? Because Lila was like, oh, a lot of women regret her abortion. And she was like, my abortion was important for me, and I don't regret it because I have all these other issues going on that made it so that like I couldn't, have a child or whatever. But was it not her point, or? Oh, they don't get to speak on behalf of a hypothetical child to get... Yeah, sure. Well, thanks for the follow. I'm Sappy. Welcome.
Better medical care than
She
what she was told.
deserves
That
to
was
be able
unfair
to
and wrong
have a
what she was told.
choice, and
she wasn't given a choice.
She was given
No,
a
they
choice.
told her
back,
you're
I
going to
ain't doing
die.
that.
They told her you have to have this abortion. That's what they told her.
They're informing her
deserved a
medically.
high-
She cannot deliver children if she had not had that abortion.
Did you know
so
that?
why do you think that
when
she
there's
should have a
just to be
forced
clear, in a late-term abortion, you have to remove the baby, right?
Yes.
And what is the difference between a late-term abortion where you remove the baby dead and an early delivery where you can remove the baby alive? One is an abortion, and one is a life-saving act.
I mean, I don't... I'm no doctor. She isn't either. Okay, to be clear, she doesn't know if there's a difference between those things, because she's not a doctor. Now, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know if there's a difference between those two things. I could imagine. I could guess that the reason abortion might be safer is because they go in and they don't have to induce labor. They can just anesthetize you and then go in and cut the baby up and suck it out, and that might not cause as much trauma or whatever as inducing labor and actually pushing the baby out. I could imagine that being the case. I don't know if that's the case because I'm not a fucking doctor and neither is she, but
What she deserved was a life-saving act for both her and that baby. And an early delivery could have been what she needed.
I agree, because she wanted that child.
And that's why it's devastating that they told her that.
But
it's wrong that they told her that.
no, but they were right.
No, how can you say that when there are
because I know
thousands of medical...
How do you know if they were right? What do you mean? I mean, she didn't answer whether or not she has a medical degree, but she's not a doctor. What?
Medical professionals who say that abortion is not medically necessary. It's not my opinion. It's thousands of medical professionals who say that.
That's time.
I appreciate that, but you're not a doctor and you weren't her doctor.
There's thousands of medical professionals who
Real.
say you can care for both mother and baby.
That's fine, but it's you.
Can doctors be wrong?
Doctors can be wrong.
Could our doctor have been wrong? My next claim is abortion cannot be justified under any circumstance.
In your beta, what's up, Phil Jones? Real.
Hi, good to meet you, Lila.
Nice to meet you. What was your name?
Mason.
Mason, nice to meet you.
Okay, under any circumstance, so I can't wait to only go over the most edge case extreme scenarios and never actually engage with the philosophical question of what should we entail moral rights to, okay? We're never gonna get there, okay?
So a couple things. First, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going to make a lot of assumptions about your organization. I don't know the specifics, but when you say alternatives to abortion, I assume that you're saying philanthropic assistance when it comes to helping people with pregnancy or start families. Is that true?
Yeah, promoting options that are not killing the baby, basically. So that could be
without that moral language,
the baby, adopting the baby.
Yeah, and I think that's valuable to a lot of people, especially if they don't have the economic means in order to start a family. So I want to commend you on that. Yeah. When it comes to the policy proposals that you propagate as an organization, I would say that those don't help anybody, especially when it comes to just adding punitive measures.
Are you familiar with our policy proposals? Because we support making birth free. Do you support making birth free?
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Do you support access to contraception?
We support more cash credits for families.
Wait, they support making birth free? What? Bro, you're in favor of socialized medicine? What the fuck?
Kids so that they can invest back into their families and better take care of their kids. So part of what we do on the public policy side is smaller than
I won't just criticize all of the policies then. I'll specifically criticize the ones that are punitive measures against women or against doctors who are facilitating this type of reproductive health care. That's not something that's going to help people.
Here's a question for you.
Unfortunately, and I'm assuming that there's a lot of ideological similarities with a lot of other conservative movements. So when it comes to things like gun rights, what I hear so much from conservatives are guns are something that's a necessary evil. If there was a world where we could get rid of all guns, that would be awesome. It's just one thing where there are going to be bad people with guns.
Okay, true.
In order to counteract that, you're going to need good people with guns. And I would say the same thing for abortion.
This would have been a good thing to bring up on the last point, but guess you didn't get to speak on that one.
I think in an ideal world we wouldn't have any abortions. Unfortunately, the reality of the situation is it's going to exist whether or not that it's legal and can have safe actual procedures, or it's going to happen in the alleyways where it is going to damage women. So to continue to advocate for punitive measures, and I'll let you speak after this, I think that does more harm to women at large than it does to help protect the unborn life.
Here's a question for you. Do you think that it is always wrong to kill an innocent person, an innocent human?
I would say the intentional killing of somebody who's innocent is something that we should advocate against. What I will say, though, is
what is an abortion in your view?
One sec, I got to finish my point. What I will say is the rights of people's bodily autonomy.
They're touching on it.
Life, especially when it comes to the government enforcement of that.
Do I have the right as a mother to kill my child?
So I think there are two ways that we determine what rights are in a society, right? It's either we all have rights, and then we decide as a society that there are some actions that we need to restrict just because we live in a social world, or we have no rights, and we just have the grace of the government that grants us some rights.
I have a question
for you.
What
I would start is, I think that we do have all rights. I think that we restrict things that would be unnecessary and bad. I wouldn't count somebody's rights to their own bodily autonomy as something that we need to restrict.
So it sounds like you're making the argument that dependency means that a mother should have the child to end the life, should have the right to end the life of her child.
I wouldn't say dependency because I'm sure
the child's dependent on her body, right? That's what you're saying.
I'm assuming you're going to go into a toddler is dependent in order to be fed by their parents.
A newborn is totally dependent on their parents,
but it doesn't rely.
We can never end the life of a newborn.
I know, but it doesn't rely on the specific bodily functions of somebody.
But it fully relies on the functions of everybody else.
Well, no, because you can opt out. You can give that to an adoption agency.
A newborn baby relies on the functions of other.
I don't know why I never hear like Lila make this argument. The dependency thing, you forced the fetus to be in a state of dependency on you. Like you had the sex and forced the fetus to be dependent on you. It doesn't really it'd be you can have an analogy of I'm giving you I'm giving somebody a poison, and that poison has a 10% chance of making them entirely dependent upon me. And then after I gave them the poison and made them dependent on me, should I have the right to the right to kill them or whatever because they're using my body? I feel like that's a much stronger argument than just but newborns are still dependent on their mother. I mean, there is the I do like the I think it's when she is going down this road, there's an analogy called Mary's Cabin. I think it's Mary's Cabin. It's let's say even in the case of rape, if we kidnap a woman and like put her in a cabin with a baby, a newborn baby, and in its nose, and she's trapped in a cabin for 6 months with a newborn baby, is she entitled to just say, well, like even though there's enough food in the cabin for both of them, to like just say, no, I'm not going to feed the baby because of my own bodily autonomy. I shouldn't, I've been forced to be here. Should I have the right to just not feed this baby because it requires my bodily resources to do so? She is. I feel like those two analogies are better than just going down this cringe path or whatever. If I were to be an evil pro-lifer, gonna call me sexist, but this guy has made better. Okay, this guy has made better arguments than the woman so far. That's not. Yes, he has.
For adults,
Right,
for sure.
but
Plus, I'm a guy, and I've made. If I was there, I'd make the absolute best arguments out of all of them. So
to do with that biological mother. The mother can't put it up for adoption if they don't have the means in order to take care of it.
Let me make sure I say it back to you. You're saying the biological mother has the right to end the life of her biological child, but somebody else who's not biologically connected could end the life of a young child that's totally dependent on them physically.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Then what are you saying?
Well, you like to go into a lot of biology. Do you know what an FMT is?
Tell me.
So it's a fecal microbacterial transfusion. It's necessary for people who don't have proper intestinal responses for immune disorders. And what it is basically a transfusion of someone else's feces into that person. What's funny to me is we don't enforce people in order to like collect their own poop in order to preserve life. So it's funny that we protect the sanctity of people's poop over people's wombs and uterus.
But the womb is designed for a baby, right?
Not all wombs can
Wombs
deliver
are designed
babies.
for babies.
Not all
What else are they
designed.
designed for?
I hate to do it, guys.
Okay.
I hate interrupting you, but it's the only way to keep the
No worries.
rotating.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Thank you.
again, like Lila has like fine secular arguments for abortion, but I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it's for certain, but I am pretty sure that Lila also does not believe in evolution and believes in intelligent design. And like that's why she uses this like loaded language of like
Hi, my name is Dana Peloton.
Dana, nice to meet you.
So I am the executive director of one of the oldest rape crisis centers here in the nation. And one of the things that I need you to understand is that abortion care is health care for survivors. And it also gives them the options that they need in order to move forward after they have had so many choices that have been taken away from them. So let's remind ourselves that most women who have been assaulted know they're assaulters. 1 in 20 women who have had pregnancies that result from assault. In addition, 1 in 4 women have had abortions. So these are women who are making these choices because they need to make these choices. And when you say to someone who has already had choices taken away from them, that in addition to I have had my body violated, I have had my choices taken from me, that I then have to carry a child to birth, and then have my life put in danger, and reminding ourselves that as a black woman, I have a higher rate of death in our society just by birthing. So I'm putting my life in danger.
I don't think, I don't remember the controversy over that. I don't think that ended up being true, because I think that was brought up. Well, I think that was brought up in like it might have been the hearing for the Justice Brown Jackson. And I think it was, I think her claim was like, oh, if we place black mothers with like black doctors, they seem to have a lower rate of death from giving birth. But I'm pretty sure that ended up not being true, but I don't remember. I don't remember the controversy over it.
Just to carry a child that has resulted from an assault. So you cannot tell me that there is no circumstance where I don't make that choice for my body and for the tissues that are in my body. There is always a space for me to make a choice for what is going to happen to my body.
I'd love to respond, if I may. First of all, we are aligned that is absolutely horrific. We're aligned on that. And part of the work at Live Action is we do interview survivors of sexual assault, and we talk to survivors of sexual assault as well as children conceived via sexual assault. That's part of their story.
Fuck this stupid
and we're aligned that it's absolutely horrific. Where it sounds like we're not aligned is that I don't believe that 2 wrongs make a right. That if there is a horrific act of an assault, if I may just explain my position here, if there's a horrific act of assault and a pregnancy results, a new life is conceived, that ending that new life, giving that new human being the death penalty
for the death penalty. There's been a fertilization of an egg.
If I may finish. So as an example, my friend Rebecca Kiesling or my friend Ryan Baumberger, 2 amazing people, conceived in brutal ways. And they go around and they say, I was that embryo, I was that fetus.
Is that
I was adopting people conceived in brutal ways. And they go around and they say,
yeah, they did that. That's a weird way of censoring it. They didn't just get the audio or whatever. That's weird. Anyway.
Was that embryo? I was that fetus. I was that unborn baby. Do I not have a right to live? Should I have gotten the death penalty for the crime of my father? One more thing to say
that
here.
mother made a choice. Well, that mother made a choice. I, as a person who has been assaulted, then get to make that choice for my body.
And that's the difference.
I can see the chat.
Actually, the difference is I get to choose what happens to my body because I didn't get to make that choice with that assault. I didn't get to make that choice.
Art, that's crazy.
But I do get to make the choice with what happens with that fertilized egg, and that is a problem.
Okay. Let's go. Are we gonna finally get to hey, maybe I don't care what you are right now. No offense, but I don't even have enough money to afford that art. Plus, I already have fucking twerk break. Okay, why do people think I need art all the time? What's this thing? Oh, we're finally gonna get to should we entail moral right to a fertilized egg, or maybe there's something more complicated there? We finally gonna get there? Are we gonna avoid it somehow? Let's see.
10-year-old child who didn't have a choice about what happened to her body to then say you must carry that child.
That was absolutely horrible. Post-birth abortions are better than your twerking break. Real.
Until you give birth. That is unconscionable.
If I can respond with a couple things that are really important, I think. First of all, Rebecca Keesley, my friend who was conceived, her mother tried to have an abortion. It was illegal and she couldn't access one. So she ended up placing Rebecca for adoption. And Rebecca goes around and says, what about my right to life? And she ended up meeting with her mother years later. And her mother said, I'm actually glad I wasn't able to end your life.
And I'm glad for Rebecca's mother.
If I can just finish. One of the key things that we need to acknowledge is that abortion isn't something that's going to heal. Abortion does. Abortion does. I'd love to respond to you. I'd love to just have a moment. Abortion can add trauma. It's another act of violence.
It does not add trauma. There is no evidence that abortion adds trauma.
If I may respond.
No, she's going to say don't say that. She's going to say the studies again. No, don't say the evidence. No. She does this for a living. Obviously, she has all the studies on hand. What do you mean? No, don't say it. No. You ever watch content from Trisha Paytas? She has a kid. She has kids now. Yeah, I have seen. I am familiar with Trisha Paytas. Yes, I know. With IDF pilot base. This point where I tap out and up ran out for the day. Thanks for stopping by, Maida. Appreciate it.
200,000 Medicaid patients, women, 150% more likely to commit suicide for those that had an abortion. If I may just finish, than those that gave birth.
There is no psychological evidence.
There have been a lot of studies that have been done that show that abortion can be profoundly traumatizing.
There is actually correlation to the trauma of having to carry the birth to term.
Wait, you know what? I didn't even think of that. Yeah, you know what? The people who get abortions are probably also more likely to have been raped, right? And that probably increases the risk of suicide. I didn't even think of that. That's another. I don't know I would assume the studies try to factor that in and find causality. I don't know though. It didn't seem like that one did, at least. Considering it also found that they just experience more violent deaths generally, not from suicide, and there's no clear mechanism by which they would experience more violent deaths, and there at least is a plausible mechanism for causing suicide, but yeah, causal inference is my passion.
In relation to the trauma of the
I think early delivery
abortion
might be the right decision, because keep in mind, what is an abortion? It's the forced birth of a dead fetus or embryo. An abortion is the forced birth of a dead baby.
An abortion is an actual medical procedure to remove tissue from your body.
Want to react to your own debate with Fabian Guy? Which one? I have 3 of them by now, or 4 of them by now. I think 4.
What kind of tissue is being removed in an abortion?
Fetal tissue.
Of what? Of a what?
Of a fetus.
Of a fetus. And what is a fetus?
Seems you know nothing. Why you even here? Because I'm a beta. Is that what you want to hear?
A fetus could grow to be a live birth.
So is a fetus alive?
Not necessarily.
If the fetus is dead, why do you have to have an abortion?
Well, you have to have an abortion to remove the fetus from your body.
If the fetus is already dead, I have no problem with removing a dead baby.
As you saw with
the baby's alive.
I think your definition of abortion bakes in a lie, right? I think she'll define abortion as the intentional killing of a viable pregnancy or whatever. We're just gonna ask the easiest question ever. It's so easy. Do we care about life? Do we entail rights to life? The answer is obviously no, because she doesn't give a fuck about animal rights. Okay, she doesn't Obviously doesn't. Obviously there are like brain dead people who we could, or who, I mean, there's a whole dialogue tree past the brain dead point, which is to say actually brain dead is dead because it's the permanent cessation of whatever. But you ask about life, she's like, no, I don't give a fuck about life. You know, we don't care about a tree just because it's living. And it's like, okay, but human life, well, do we really care about human life? What about a brain dead person? Why should we entail rights to something that is something that, you know, has human right, or something that is human but is not actually sentient and therefore like can't suffer in the way that like we usually care about in morality. What if we had a situation where there was an alien race that was like exactly as sentient or even a higher level of sentient than humans were? Should we give moral rights to them just because, you know, they aren't human, but are still have a higher level of sentience? Like, yeah.
What is the fetus alive when you're doing an abortion, an elective abortion?
So sometimes the fetus is not alive when you do an elective abortion. So
we would agree that would be a miscarriage, and we are
no,
if
absolutely
the baby
not.
has already passed away.
Absolutely not.
So
because there
just to be
are
clear,
times
I am only against an abortion that is intentionally taking the life of an innocent human.
Single people too. So.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm
Lila.
Ceci.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So your claim is that there's no right for abortion under any circumstance at all, which obviously I disagree with
And
because
I'll just define abortion really quick, just for clarity, because it was
You don't really need to.
Okay,
the intentional
finally.
killing of a living,
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, living. Yeah, thanks for a chicken sandwich. Yeah, she bakes into her definition living, so she automatically. I don't want to say like presupposes, because like, well, I mean it does. It's just I don't think it's a wholly unreasonable definition of abortion, but automatically gets rid of the criticism of like, oh, you know, what if there's a molar pregnancy and like we need to remove it, because she just bakes into her definition of abortion that isn't an abortion.
Don't disagree with it. Anyway, so my point though is that there should be exception. I mean, I think you should be able to get it if you want one, but
under any circumstances.
For the 10-year-olds that are raped, which you know that 10-year-old in Ohio who was raped by her father, then was told she couldn't have an abortion, had to go to a different state. So you're more than comfortable with holding down a 10-year-old once again to make her do something with her body she doesn't want to do.
So an abortion is another act of violence in my view, both of that baby and of a rape survivor. I think this view that we have that abortion is somehow going to heal
Even
a
if
rape
that 10-year-old
survivor
is crying and begging you, I don't want to give birth, I don't want to carry it for 9 months, I don't want to be a mom.
I think she deserves the best support and care. She needs to be taken out of that abusive situation.
Health care, and in this case would be an abortion.
But we can't
what a
take away
co-answer.
I think in that case, an early
Don't
delivery.
speak out of your nose.
You're affording more empathy toward a zygote more than you are a living, breathing 10-year-old who just went through something seriously traumatizing. So your empathy is in a place I don't understand.
If I can respond.
Now you can, absolutely.
So is absolutely horrific. Incest is absolutely horrific. We are completely aligned on that. We need more penalties for abusers. I think
incest is horrific. I wouldn't be so sure. You're gonna stop two lesbian sisters from making love, okay? What the hell is wrong with this woman?
the things that I have about that case that I've seen is there's no story about what happened to her abuser. Was she protected from her abuser? It's like that's left out of the narrative.
Her father.
I mean, but what
I've heard you say before, though,
you
shouldn't punish a child for what you called generational sin.
But if I can finish.
But which child are you not? Which child do you want to punish?
You gotta let me make the case. You gotta let me make the case.
Well, you're worried about punishing a child, but which one? The 10-year-old who was already punished?
Can I respond?
Now you can.
In a case of incest and there's a new life that's been conceived, there's another human being now we're talking about. It's not just the abuser and the victim. There's another potential victim.
There's a zygote.
And we need to care for both. They're both human beings. And in the case of a very young girl who's been the victim of a horrific assault, the idea...
God, I hate... There's a human being. Like, obviously... Oh, thanks, Copeland. Okay. For the sub, I appreciate it. Hell yeah. Times 4. When were you? You've been a sub for 4 months? I guess you were gifted one once, right? Hell yeah, I appreciate it, Copeland. Okay. What name was this used? 5. Okay.
Hold her down again.
The idea, well, in an abortion, you're literally held down, and you have to submit your body to an act that will deliver
she would
a
want
forced
to have
child.
done.
Well, you're
rather
speaking
than
Are you? I mean, I don't know. I mean, first of all, like, it's a procedure that you consent to. So, like, you're consenting to being held down. Like, I obviously. I mean, I guess they can't be moving during an abortion or whatever. I thought it was like prior to 12 weeks or something, or 15 weeks or something, you just like, you can just take a pill and then like, it'll, you know, the baby will die and eventually you'll like deliver the dead fetus. Or so level. Yeah, I know. Yeah. And then like past that, I thought you were anesthetized for the other ones where like they have to like tear the baby apart, rip it into pieces and murder them. But maybe not. I am an expert on the fetal anatomy. Why am I saying my understanding? I am right because I am the ultimate woman. I am the knower of all women.
You're speaking for her.
No. We're talking about the 10-year-old who wanted to get that abortion.
But the point here is that there are human rights now in play for an unborn child and a born child. They both have rights. And I think the medical care is very key, as well as the counseling and the support that she deserves. And probably an early delivery would be what would be necessary to protect her health and to make sure that the baby would have a chance to live. But at the end of the day, you don't give the death penalty to the baby because they were conceived by a rapist, because their father is an abuser. We don't even give the death penalty in this country to rapists. Were you aware of that?
My question for
you can't even get the death penalty for. Why would we be okay with giving the death penalty to a child because they're conceived by rape?
It's not a child.
What are they?
It's a zygote. It's an embryo.
What is an embryo?
And I'm not going to get into the science behind it because the thing
you don't think the science matters?
Not this argument right now.
So you don't think there's
come on. You're touching on the only relevant question of what we entail moral rights to.
Right for an abortion for any reason, but there definitely are. That's like Nancy Davis in Louisiana, who her child was going to be born with a crania, meaning without a skull. You thought, and you said this to her, you said, I think your child should have died in the loving arms of their parents instead of at the tools of the abortionist. Now, this woman was going to give birth to a child that will die within minutes of being born. So you're not bringing life into the world.
Do you know what abortion procedure would have been done on her baby? Do you know what abortion procedure would have been done on her baby? In a later term abortion that she had in the second trimester.
Emergency abortion.
If I can just complete my sentence here. Either there would have been a lethal injection of that baby to kill that baby, or that would have been a live dismemberment of that baby. Those are the abortion procedures used in the second or the third trimester.
And you don't think either one should have been.
But you support that? Do you support that? Thank you. My next claim is every unborn child has the right to life.
Oh, finally. We'll see. Okay, let's see. Kill me, dog! Kill me! They don't care about this one at all. Kill me! 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 I'm brain dead. I don't know it. I mean, if I'm brain dead, I can't really know anything, right?
All right. Nice to meet you.
What's your name?
Adam.
Adam, nice to meet you.
Likewise. So when you say a child, I feel like you're kind of like preemptively loading the prompt with a lot of emotions. A child implies a person, and I don't believe personhood begins until around 22 weeks of gestation when, if you want to get into neuroscience, the thalamus connects to the cortex, and the brain finally has a capacity to support a subjective experience. So why do you think that a fetus at 10 weeks, 8 weeks, for example, that has no capacity to be self-aware, to experience pain or anything else, should be valued equal to the bodily autonomy of a woman?
Okay, so a few questions for you to get to answer that.
Yeah.
Do you believe that a human fetus is a human?
It's a human, yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah. So your argument is that some humans don't
Destiny
have human rights.
Unironically, probably. Like,
sure, this is getting into semantics, like the colloquial way we use the word human versus maybe a more scientific way. So obviously, a fertilized egg and beyond has human cells. The question is, when we talk about protecting that life, when does it become on the same level as the life of the mother who has bodily autonomy? And the answer there is 22 weeks, because again, prior to that, there's nothing, the car is on, but there's no driver in the car. And you don't apply traffic laws to an empty car, right? There has to be a subject present. It can't be a something, it has to be a someone.
So does a newborn baby have the same capacity, brain abilities as a 3-year-old?
No.
And does
it has the same capacity for consciousness though, because the thalamus and cortex are connected.
So you're defining human life as consciousness. That's your
definition. I was talking to the president of my server, Moxie, about this too. You don't even like really have to go like this far. You're gonna say like, I entail like, part of the reason I believe like killing people is wrong is like people like have the capacity for like future sentience or whatever. It's like I entail like a the loss of that like future sentience as a like a negative on their side, right? And that's part of the reason why killing's wrong. And you can say like, well, I entail someone with any level of sentience that same right, like they have a right to like their future, right? It's just that in order to have that right, like there has to be an individual subjective experience to be there in the first place. I don't like entail like an individual right to future experience to an experience that doesn't exist yet. So like you can just say like, any sentient human or any human that has at one point reached sentience, I would entail like rights to, and that gets rid of like all these problems and any problems with like, well, what if they're in a coma for 9 months, which I'm assuming she might bring up in a few seconds here as well. Why is that guy calling you a beta? I don't know. I think he thinks I'm Jewish, and is because he keeps complaining about my nose too. I'm not even Jewish, but I'm pretty sure that's what he thinks. I don't know. He hasn't really substantiated on why he thinks I'm a beta. He just keeps saying it, presumably because he thinks I'm a Jew. I need to ban them.
Yeah, the ability to have a subjective experience, consciousness, sure.
So if someone is unconscious, are they no longer a human?
They still have connections with the thalamus and cortex, whether they're degenerate.
Sorry. I thought she was going to make a good argument. No, she just went right to, well, if someone's unconscious and they're still a human, even though he's already, that wouldn't even make sense with his stance, because he's literally already said he doesn't care about humans. He cares about like subjective experience. Like, brother, you already can see that like a fetus is a human or whatever. Oh my God, dog, kill me.
Anesthesia, whether they're asleep, whether
if
they're in a coma,
you would say they're still a human.
They still have the neural pathways connecting those parts of the brain.
If you're an unborn child before you've developed your brain fully, right? Because we all started life before our brain was developed, right? And then eventually after a few years we would develop our brain and develop more capacities with our brain. But that child before it has developed its brain has the natural
ban out of fear.
For brain, because that's what
I'm banning you just because you're not contributing. I haven't even banned you yet. You're not contributing anything. You're just being vaguely anti-Semitic and like insulting me for no reason, but.
Kills that child.
When you say before it's developed the brain, do you mean prior to 22 weeks?
Prior to 22 weeks. And there are parts of, a lot has happened in the brain activity even before 22 weeks, as I'm sure you know.
Sure, but it's not sufficient to support a subjective experience. And when
but she doesn't even, I don't know why people don't push back. She doesn't care. She like, they shouldn't make the argument. If you don't care about brain experience, then like, why are you making the argument that like, oh, maybe this happens before 22 weeks. You don't care if it happened, like, You don't care about brain experience at all. You should just fight on whether that's a worthwhile thing to value, and not like when exactly does it happen. Because she supports. She doesn't support abortion even when we know for certain there's no brain activity at fucking 0 weeks at the moment of conception. Like, what do you mean, dog? What's your abortion? Are you missing the word stance?
2 weeks. I would agree a potential life has some value, but it's not equal value to an actual person who has a right to bodily autonomy. If 200 years in the future, thanks to like medical technology advancements, we can safely remove an 8-week fetus from a mother, respect her bodily autonomy, and protect the fetus, I don't think anyone's going to call for abortion in that situation.
So, I'm not a fucking neuroscientist, so I don't know when fucking fetuses are sentient. I would say, like the thing I gave earlier is like the hypothetical. I would say it makes the most sense to value essentially all humans that have at one point reached sentience. That would apply to any a human that has at one point reached a level of sentience, any level of sentience. That seems to get rid of all the issues with like, what about being in a coma? Well, I still die. I still entail them with the there's something Moxie sent me this like paper or whatever. Because we were talking about this earlier in the Discord server, which everyone should join right now. And by the way, ! Discord in the chat, which like you can tell like an individual with the value of like having a future like ours. I wish there was a defining thing, but yeah, like if you're killing someone, you're depriving them of like a future, of like their future positive sentient experience or whatever. I think that argument makes sense, but I don't think it makes sense to entail the like future like ours value to a being that has literally never ever been sentient. I shouldn't even say being, because there's no being. There's never been sentience there. So I would say like a human that is at one point, or not just a human, a being that is at one point reach sentience, because I care about non-human sentience as well, believe it or not. I would say is what we should entail moral rights to, right? So I don't know when a fetus is sentient. A lot of people say like 20 weeks. I hear other people say fucking 12 weeks or whatever. I don't have a strong position on when that is, but whenever it is, I would say it's okay up to that point and not okay after that point.
The reality is, respecting her bodily autonomy typically is mutually exclusive with keeping that pregnancy.
So make sure I'm tracking your argument here. You're saying that before this specific moment when there is a certain level of brain development, because the brain has begun
certain
developing
connections
before.
between brain regions.
And why for you is that the level of humanity? Why for you does that give that person
level of
humanity?
Because that includes anyone we'd want to include, people that are asleep, people that are under general anesthesia.
And if they have a brain developmental disorder where they're missing part of their brain, and so
like
those
anencephaly, for example,
and those connections aren't there, would you say they're not a human anymore?
They'd still be a human, and like I said
but
earlier,
they don't have those brain connections that you're talking about.
I'm talking about personhood versus being a human.
Well, that's what I'm talking about too.
Yeah.
So I'm saying.
So I want to be clear with the terms here. When you say they're a human, I'm agreeing that even a fertilized egg is a human, is it a person that should be given equal
So are you saying that a person with a
woman?
brain developmental disorder, like a significant developmental
you're talking about
disability,
anencephaly, for example?
As an example, that they would not be a
So
person?
as I said,
this guy, this guy should have been talking the whole time. Okay, this guy makes I am sexist, and this guy makes way better arguments than older woman. Okay, thank God this guy's here to tell a woman how to argue. Okay, yeah, I love how this guy knows it. He knew exactly where she was gonna fucking go. Are you saying someone with a brain disorder is not a human? It's like he knows, like she's referring to like a quote unquote brain disorder where the person is just fucking brain dead. Like, oh, thank God.
It's okay to kill that person?
Well, no, that's not what I'm saying.
Then what are you saying?
As I said earlier, when there's
Why is a non-sentient human not worthy of value? Because they can't suffer. They have no meaningful capacity to suffer. I would say even locals, even you agree that sentient non-humans are worthy of value, right? You agree with that, right? Because we've had like the veganism discussion before, and like you say like, oh, I think local farms should be more ethical, and it's like, well, that seems to entail that you think non-human sentience is also a value. So clearly you value sentience as well.
Potential life, a partial life. You still give it some
sometimes
value.
Okay.
You have to take reasonable steps to protect it. If someone's
so
born,
what steps would you give it to protect
if someone's born with anencephaly, there's no conflict there between the bodily autonomy of a woman and the person with anencephaly. The reason you do an abortion is not like, oh, I want to kill this fetus for fun. There's a conflict between the woman's bodily autonomy and the fetus developing. So if there's some way to resolve that and respect both parties, that would be great, but we don't have
I don't even know. I thought anencephaly, maybe I'm confusing my things here, but I thought anencephaly was like literally like fucking the child is essentially brain dead. If not like literally brain dead. Maybe I'm confusing these, but no fun abortions. Rigged. To be clear, I am in favor of fun abortions, okay? So long as they're before the fetus has ever reached sentience, but
that kind of medical technology.
So the Perlick position is that if you are a human, you have human rights, regardless of how developed your brain might be, because some people have severe developmental disabilities, and that doesn't make them less of a human, or they have less.
I never said that it does.
Well, your argument actually infers that it does, actually, because it's saying that this particular level.
How many? God, she fucking sucks, dude. How many times did this guy say, to be clear, I agree they're human. To be clear, I agree they're human. I agree. He had to like go through that like 5 fucking times for her, just for at the end to say the exact same thing. Bitch. Sorry, I shouldn't call women bitch. To be clear, I call men bitches too, okay? But honestly, it's justified here, okay? Bitch, you know his position. You don't have to misrepresent it. Oh my God. Do you support back alley abortions? I don't know what you mean. I don't think like, I was in the, during that, hippy dippy debate, the Kim Higby guy was like, oh, back alley abortions are still usually pretty safe. It's just the term just came from having to enter the door to the doctor's office through the back alley, and it's still done by like a licensed doctor or whatever, just like illegally. Like, I want abortion to be legal so we don't have to do back alley abortions, but I don't even know if back alley abortions are that unsafe. I don't trust Kim Higby that much, but I didn't fact check that. So like, it could be the case that back alley abortions aren't even like that bad.
Of developmental ability that your brain may have gives you
which exists, by the way, in pretty much anyone other than people with anencephaly, and those people usually die in a couple days.
Is it okay to kill that person before they die naturally? Because they lack this.
If they're still in the womb or after birth.
But what if they're okay? Let's take your scenario. What if they're after birth and they lack the specific connections that you're saying defines personhood?
They only have a brainstem usually.
Yeah, and they're after birth. There's a little boy named Jasper. He lived almost, I think, 3-4 years.
Oh, Jasper! I love Jasper. Yo, keep bringing this guy up forever and ever and ever. Thank you. Yes, tell me about Jasper for the 5 millionth time.
Condition in his brain.
It's not okay to kill that.
But why would it not be okay to kill them when they lack this specific brain connection that you're saying makes it okay to kill the baby?
The reason it's okay to kill the fetus prior to 22 weeks is not because it's just good enough itself. It's because it's the only way to resolve the conflict between the bodily autonomy of the woman and the fetus. If someone's born with anencephaly, their existence is not impeding on the bodily autonomy of anyone else. And then you want to take all reasonable steps to help that person, not harm that person.
I think we agree on bodily autonomy to a degree, because I agree that I have bodily autonomy, you have bodily autonomy, but I think my bodily autonomy ends when another human being's bodily autonomy
Does
begins.
it fully
Even
end?
before they're
why does
fully
their
developed.
autonomy outweigh yours, though?
So it's not that it outweighs, it's that they're two lives. Like, it would not be right for me to be killed by you, right? I have a right to live.
Yes.
And similarly, if I had another body inside my body that was a developing human being, which is what pregnancy involves, right? Maybe one, maybe two, they have a right to live and to not be killed. So I don't have the right, even though
So we do
there
not
is
agree.
a
I don't know what
responsibility.
wait, Vanessa, are you? I don't know. I have a friend named Ness. I don't know if you're that friend. I don't think you are, but I don't know for sure. What's your position? I don't know. What if a fetus was born at 9 weeks? Would it be okay to stomp on it if it's not sentient? Which no, I'm not. Okay, I don't know for sure. I don't want to start any IRL arguments, okay? I mean, local, is there anything that's not sentient or not just not sentient, but has never reached a point of sentience, then, like, yeah, I would consider them a moral object and not a moral subject. I think that's a way easier defendable position than something that has never been sentient and something that has never reached sentience is a moral subject. I think my position is way more easily defendable, leads to way less bad reductios. It's got to be a better term there. Less bad reductios, less absurd reductios.
Now how they're using my body to develop, that's how we all behave in our life,
but
then that child still has a right to not be killed. Parents have natural
Why does that woman not have a right to still have her
children.
bodily functions kept intact and have like her bodily autonomy kept intact? When you can deliver the baby, deliver the baby,
What is the
don't
womb
abort it.
designed for? What is the womb designed for?
Like gestation?
Gestation of what?
The baby.
Right, so the womb is designed for the baby.
Sorry.
Okay. Nice job, thank you. Nice to meet you.
Why are they get rid of this guy? No, you're the best one.
Hello again.
Hello. So my first question is, are you familiar with an anime or a manga series called Monster?
I'm not.
Okay. Off to a good start here. Okay, based.
Tell me about it.
In Monster, essentially you have a doctor, and this doctor has a choice. He has a choice to decide between either saving this young boy's life or saving the life of, I believe it's a sponsor of the hospital. He chooses to save the young boy's life. This young boy grows up to be the titular monster, worse than Hitler. Does that child have a right to life?
Yes, every child has a right to life.
Even if they turn out to be the most monstrous thing you could possibly produce. Even if their life means the life ending of everyone here. Does their life still hold?
I believe
Localist, you could argue that, like, I want to consider it murder because I wouldn't consider it an unjustified killing of a person if I don't think they're a person. But you could still, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean there's no harm there. Like it's obviously still like harmful for me if I stomp on your expensive vase or whatever, or if I kill your dog. But that's not murder. Or I mean, I guess more colloquially, you can say you murder a dog, but usually murder implies a person, right? Like, that's not like that. It's not that bad of a reductio. like
monsters are not born, they're made. So just because a child might eventually do something when they grow up and become an adult doesn't mean we have a right to kill them before that. I don't know what went on in their childhood or the choices that they made, but at the end of the day, everyone has a right to life, especially a child. They're innocent.
Let's say this child grows up and their life is miserable to the point of where they would want to
dog kill me. No, we're going on this. No, why? Actually, what if in 10% of cases the abortion saves the child from living a horrible, like, obviously if you think it's a moral subject, you wouldn't say it's okay to kill them just to stop them from having a bad life in foster care or whatever, because you probably think that bad life is better than no life. Obviously if you don't think it's a moral subject, then you don't care whether or not they're going to foster care. Dog kill me, bro.
In their life, and that's going to obviously leave some kind of ricochet effect. Everybody's going to be desperately devastated by that. Would you say that the parent who believes that is where their child's life is going?
Well, I agree, like, fetuses are still human or whatever. I just don't entail all humans with moral rights. Like, I don't know.
Does that child still deserve the right to life?
Are you saying that if a child is being abused, then we should be in support of killing that child?
Then let me be more specific. What would you say to me as someone who is a third-generation suicide?
What is more value, one sentient human or 1,000 already born 9-week fetus? Well, it's possible that... it depends what you mean by more value. So I want to say there's like an individualized harm when it comes to like killing a 9-week-old fetus. But I would agree, like, the future sentience of the 9-week-old fetus does have like some level of value. But then it becomes a question of like, do we want to ban abortion because the potential future value of the sentience of the people getting an abortion, or have it be legal and like value the currently existing people and their like well-being over over it, right? But I guess local, the way I would say, I don't know which one I would say is more value, but I would say like the, you know, killing the 9-week-old fetuses or whatever is not any more wrong than stopping 18,000 people from having sex, if that makes sense, right? So like, I could agree that like one is, you know, at some point, like the future sentience of all the people would, 10,000 future fetuses would increase GDP more. You know, like I could agree, like the future sentience of them would have more value, or, you know, once we get to, you know, we can play with the numbers that we want to determine where that line is. But also, I don't think there'd be an individualized harm there, and I think it would be just as wrong as preventing the future sentience via stopping people from having sex versus killing a zygote or killing, you know, something right before, or killing something before it's sentient.
Suicide survivors, my mother, my grandmother, and their lives are miserable.
I'm so glad that you're here. And I'm so sorry that that's part of your history.
I have never smoked pot, believe it or not.
Your mother, your grandmother, and your dad.
Ban gay divorce.
And I'm so glad that you're here. I think your life is
Actually, ban divorce only for gay people, based.
awesome. And I think every life is awesome.
Now, would you say the same if you knew that I was living in a domestic violence shelter where I consider taking my life frequently? Would you still say that I don't deserve to not only end that life, but especially somebody who did have an abortion, and somebody who had to make the decision to escape their abuser, their predator, their captor, someone who was trafficked and pimped? So, would you still say that raising that child under those circumstances would have either made my life difficult, or would you still say that child has a right to life if I made the decision, I don't want to be tied to a predator for the rest of my life, I don't want to be tied to my captor for the rest of my life?
So if someone's dealing with horrible abuse, and I hope that didn't happen to you, but if you were dealing with I'm so sorry. That's absolutely horrible. You deserved much better. You deserve to be taken out of that, rescued from that, and given a better life. And that would be my hope for every person, and what I'd want to work towards for every person, as opposed to saying death is the answer, or a suicide is the answer, or abortion is the answer.
Can I like shift click on that? How do I make as many as I can without?
I think choosing life is always better.
Now, what would you say if I were to say,
yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
Hi, Evan.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. So my fundamental issue with a lot of pro-lifers is they have a misreading or a misunderstanding of why exactly we grant moral consideration to other humans. It is not, unlike your view, because we are simply of the human species and a live organism. Under your worldview, and correct me if I'm wrong, at the moment of conception, that you have a right to life, and that right to life is equal amongst all human beings. Is that correct?
At the moment of fertilization, yes, we all have an equal right to life. When a single cell embryo, so the science shows us at the moment of fertilization, it's important, a single cell embryo comes into existence.
I'm not even
that's unique and genetically distinct from his or her mother.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So you would prefer a world where there are less rights violations than a world where there are more rights violations. Is that correct?
Of course.
Of course. Okay. So in a world in which someone shot and killed a born human baby, you would prefer that world over someone destroying a tray full of frozen zygotes. Under your worldview, if those
massive reductio. Let's see how she coped with it. This guy's based and awesome pilled.
There are more rights violations happening. A tray of frozen zygotes in petri dishes would be worse under your worldview than a world in which someone shot and killed a born baby. Can you concede to that?
I think we were talking about this sense.
Can you concede?
Well,
come on. That's it. You said it yourself. You said I would obviously support a world with less rights violation than one with more rights violations. What do you mean? We have one with more rights violation and one with less rights violation. Clearly, under your view, which you just described to me, this one is better. Come on, bite the bullet. Come on, you have to. Come on, your view entails that. Come on. Oh, let's watch it squirm. Thoughts on the right to repair and how John Deere is screwing fire. I generally, I think right to repair is a good thing. I don't think there's many good arguments against it. I think.
So here's the deal. If there was a burning building, right?
Nonfon farmers' rights.
Using this analogy with these.
I hate farmers. So, oh wow, a quick kickbot. Let's go, farmers. European farmers suck more than American farmers, okay? Because European farmers, the meme of European farmers mobilizing for the worst cause imaginable is true. European farmers literally are against aid to Ukraine because Ukraine, quote unquote, undercuts them on grain prices because, it's cheaper to grow grain in Ukraine than it is in some of the other countries. They're evil. And then we give... there's a little bit of discussion about this when we were talking about the CR, the continuing resolution, the budget bill that Congress was trying to pass, the farming subsidies. We give subsidies to farmers for no great reason. Like what is, like, there's no point of the U.S. sugar program. It just makes sugar more expensive for everyone else and doesn't actually do anything to benefit us. Like,
tray of babies that are frozen, right? In vitro fertilization babies. You know,
nobody colloquially uses the term baby to refer to
human
zygotes,
embryos.
by the way.
Human embryos.
Sure,
They're human embryos, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Or the born baby. Yes, I mean, under the law of familiarity, and also if I was in a household and there was in the first room my son, in the second room some other person, I would pick my son.
I'm not asking in the law of familiarity. I'm asking under your ethical worldview with respect to rights violations, which is what we're discussing.
It doesn't mean that the embryos are less valuable, or that the person in the room that I didn't choose to save is less valuable. This is really important.
He's not saying that he. No, are you listening to his question? He never is saying that that it has to imply that. Like, it doesn't matter at all. Like, obviously, you said that you prefer a world with less rights violations. I'm giving you an example of a world with more rights violation and one with less rights violations. Why can't you just say that you prefer the one with less rights violations? What do you mean? Like, it doesn't matter. I'm not saying that the rights violation that takes place in the other world is any less of a rights violation. He's just saying that one has more rights violation than the other does. Come on.
Rights violations. I'm walking back because you're not directly actually responding.
I am trying to. If I may. If I want to save, in your analogy, this newborn baby from being shot, I think is what your analogy is, which is obviously horrible, or save this tray of human embryos who are in the in vitro fertilization clinic, yeah, I would pick that newborn baby. That's not because the embryos are less valuable.
So then you've just contradicted yourself because you said that you...
She's not even... Oh my God. First of all, if she... Depending on how she's saying this, she has contradicted herself. If her position is a world with less rights violation is preferable to a world with with more rights violations, then she has, and she accepts that this, which she does. I mean, presumably she has to accept it, that the example, the zygotes, killing the 10 zygotes would be a world with more rights violations, but she would still prefer the world of she put the bullet the wrong way. Yeah, she did, because she's doing that. Like I'm saying, she said, like, well, I would pick the newborn baby, and like, I think what she's trying to do there is do like the cope of like, well, emotionally, I would feel like the newborn baby, emotionally. She won't actually bite the bullet on like whether or not you emotionally would do one thing or the other. The world with more rights violations would have to be the one you don't prefer, right? Like, you would have to prefer the one of less rights violations, which is the one where the newborn baby is shot. He's just asking which one you would prefer, not like you're in this situation and have to save one, but you won't.
Prefer a world in which there are less rights violations, but that would be a world in which there are more rights violations under your exact worldview, because you conceded earlier that at the moment of conception, we all have an equal right to life, which means if we have an equal right to life, all of those embryos have an equal right to life, and that means there are more rights violations under the worldview in which the tray is destroyed versus
to be clear, if there was a baby and it's like, go save that baby or go save these 10 men over there, I also might pick the baby. That doesn't mean that these 10 men are not valuable.
Come on. Oh my God. Jeez. Oh my God. This guy's amazing, dude. Oh, why she's answering totally irrelevant questions here. Oh my God. Jesus.
And it doesn't mean that the 10 men don't have human rights. It's just that this is a baby right there.
I'm not asking whether or not you have some personal more empathy towards a baby.
But I think that's what it's connected to.
I'm specifically asking, because we're discussing human rights, as you put it, because I also have, all of us all have a much stronger form to empathy towards women. We don't have...
Sure, and if I could just say... Sorry, time's up. That's okay. Thank you. Next
Oh my God, absolute fucking perfect fucking reductio there, man. Oh my God, he humiliated her. Humiliated her. Jesus, I can't speak. Oh my God, that was perfect. Let the men speak more. Oh my God. Oh my God. She wouldn't answer it. She wouldn't answer it. The most she would say is like, well, personally, maybe I would not, maybe I would save the baby, but like, she wouldn't actually concede. She wouldn't actually concede on like which world she would prefer. Oh, brilliant, masterful. And like, he was, listen, I can't speak. He was so good. Like, every time she was like, well, I might pick one, but it doesn't mean the other, I might pick one, but the other ones are still that, like, every single time he was perfect. Like, I'm not asking that. To be clear, I'm not asking that. I'm asking which world you would prefer. I'm not asking about the emotions of one or the other. I'm asking which you would prefer, considering you just told me that you would prefer a world with less rights violations than one with more rights violations. You would prefer this one, right? And she'd be like, no, but emotionally, I might say the baby's like, I'm not asking. Like, oh my God, that was perfect, dude. Perfect. Jesus, amazing.
Abortion is unconstitutional and should be banned. Hello, what's your name?
Zeke.
Zeke, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm a lawyer, so I'm actually really glad that you brought up the constitutionality. So what do you find unconstitutional about the right to an abortion? I'm just curious.
Well, first of all, the Supreme Court has found in the reversal, the undoing of Roe v. Wade, that abortion actually is not a constitutional right.
Oh, I thought, okay, I was like, the Supreme Court did not find abortion as unconstitutional. The Supreme Court just said it's not an abortion, a constitutional right.
So that's currently the decision of the Supreme Court.
But
most importantly, the 14th Amendment to our Constitution has something called equal protection under the law for all persons. And it says that no state has the right to deprive any person of life without due process under the law.
Also, liberty and
there's
property.
No due process for the unborn child in the womb. They're innocent, and they're a human being just like you and I. I believe they're a person under the law, and they have the right to live.
That's true. But there's also in that clause something called the due process clause.
Correct.
You cannot deprive an individual of life, liberty, or property.
Does the baby have due process before they're killed?
Wait. Substantive due process. All right. There's two different things. Liberty, right? We have to focus on the liberty aspect. Individuals have liberty to do things in their life, right? That the government cannot infringe upon. One of those things is the right to marry. You cannot limit it based on race, right?
But we don't have the right to kill, right? We don't have the right to commit homicide.
I'm getting
or
there. Liberty also means that you have the liberty to decide when you become a parent, right? That's what kind of Roe was based off of. It was the liberty to decide when individuals become parents.
If you're pregnant, is there a child that exists?
We had this conversation earlier. We're on the legal aspect, right? We're going to talk about Roe.
I want to talk about that because that's one of the reasons.
Bro, I saw they apparently they film like 4 hours of this and like cut it down to like 2 hours because I was watching. Wait, hold on.
Still going with dating, you guys are.
Or I saw that they posted like an additional 2 hours of the Charlie Kirk thing.
So the idea is to make sure everybody gets a seated.
Oh no, I remember. It was. Or I guess this is a mashup of like all three. But yeah, they cut quite a bit of stuff out.
The country and 50% of taxes are paid by 1% of the country. I always hear this thing of.
The pro-life position is that
but this isn't
you are the
this is
parent
law.
of an
I want to talk
unborn baby,
about
you're not allowed to
substantive
kill
law
that
here,
child.
right? Substantive due process determined that we have a right to determine when we become parents under Roe v. Wade. The beauty about Roe v. Wade was that it gave the 50 states the opportunity to set the ceiling for where they decided viability was, while also protecting women's rights to an abortion in all 50 states.
If I'm a parent of
so
a
it gave it
one-year-old,
back to the states while also protecting women's ability to have that decision.
I have a question for you. If I'm a parent of a one-year-old and I'm saying I cannot deal with this one-year-old, I'm mentally incapacitated,
That's
I
not
can't
the same
handle
thing.
this, am I allowed to do child neglect and just leave that one-year-old?
That's not the same thing. Viability.
Why is that not the same thing?
Because we've had this discussion on biology. The first individual.
You just made a claim that the reason that abortion is constitutional is because parents have the right to decide when they want to be parents to the point where they could end the life of their child.
Before the point of viability, which was the issue in Roe and later in Casey, Dobbs.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
Why was Dobbs? Why did the justices in Dobbs overturn Roe? What was the reasoning?
I'd love to respond to what you're saying, but it has to be give and take here. So if you're saying that a parent has the right to end the life of their child, provided that the baby is before viability, is that your position? Then it would be constitutional. Is that what you're saying?
The point of viability is determined by the states. Anything before that cannot be touched.
Why does my viability define my humanity? As an example, I'm not viable on Mars, right?
You and I wouldn't be able to be viable on Mars. When we become parents, not Uncle Sam cannot come and say now you have to become a parent.
Similarly, a baby in the womb, that's their natural habitat. They're not supposed to be able to survive outside the womb at 10 weeks. They're actually in their natural environment where we all started our life, right?
But me and my wife are conscious individuals who know our situations and can decide
give them a few more weeks.
Yeah,
they're human beings just like you and me.
Well, that's when the states decide when the point of viability is.
And a newborn baby has less consciousness. A newborn baby has less consciousness than a 2-year-old has less consciousness and rational.
Dog, how's she still saying this after she got so massively reducted? Dude, if I was talking to that last guy and I just ate shit so hard, I had to squirm my way out of that reductio so hard, I would not still be playing the same argument, girl. I don't know what you're doing.
Abilities than a 10-year-old. We're always you don't fully develop your brain until you're in your mid-20s.
And that's the beauty of Roe, right?
But that doesn't mean a mid-20s person is more valuable than a newborn or an unborn baby.
But they cannot go under the floor. That's the point of Roe and the beauty. It is messy. Legally, I'll do your job for you.
Roe was overturned.
The reason why
it's
people
decidedly
went against Roe.
unconstitutional.
This is why it was
Dobbs v.
unconstitutional.
Jackson overturned Roe.
But I'll answer the question for you. The
killing
reason
a human being is
people are against Roe was because they said, well, it doesn't fit the substantive due process analysis. Obviously, it is a right that the founders did not intend in there. It is in the spirit of the law to have the liberty interest to bring a child into this world.
So I'm arguing from the 14th Amendment, not from Roe or Dobbs. I'm saying that the 14th
Dobbs
Amendment
came from substantive due process under the 14th Amendment.
The 14th
You're arguing
Amendment says
from a different,
that no state has the right to deprive anyone of life, and it provides equal protection under the law.
That's
so the
procedural
argument,
due process.
If I just give the argument is a child in the womb has the same equal protection under the law as a newborn baby. The birth canal doesn't confer you legal rights.
That's actually
legally wrong. There have been poorly decided decisions like Roe, which were overturned. Dred Scott was a poorly decided Supreme Court decision
with a predisposition against that legal belief. Everything in the legal field, I'm a lawyer, right? is based on subjective stuff. Pleasure, though.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Hey, welcome back.
Good to see you again. Mason, nice to see you again.
So, a couple quick questions first before we begin. Do you believe that the Constitution is inerrant?
That you mean it's perfect the way that it is?
Correct.
Well, I think that what is in the Constitution is good. I think it's possible and sometimes the right thing to do to add new constitutional amendments.
Yeah.
So that the
Okay, so I could have just answered with a no there, but okay.
Constitution can be more clear in who it's meant to protect and the rights that it's meant to protect, and that's what happened obviously with the 13th, 14th,
Oh, you know
15th.
what? Oh, you can't say it's an oh. Yeah, if the abortion would be inerrant if it specifically said that abortion was outlawed.
Amendment, and that's why I think historically we have, back when the 14th Amendment was put in the Constitution, most of the country saw a child in the womb as a person.
So I'm glad that you admit that.
Because I mean, I didn't commentate on any of the legal stuff because I don't know the legal stuff. I have no clue which one of them is right or if either of them are right. I think you said both of them are wrong. Like,
amendments are something that make the Constitution malleable.
Can make it better.
Right, absolutely. So
it's not undoing past parts of the Constitution, it's making it better.
Well, there are certain clauses within those amendments that will expand upon things that were unclear or had a little bit of murky areas. And I would say that if abortion was going to be something that was a constitutional right and amendment, you'd agree that even if it is part of the
my argument, to be clear, is that abortion is already unconstitutional.
I think you're trying to evoke an authority that
under
you
our
wouldn't
existing
subscribe to if abortion was to be added to the Constitution.
I'm not sure what you mean by abortion added to the Constitution. What do you mean by that?
I'm saying if the right to privacy was again reinforced and bodily autonomy was added to that in the right.
So just to be clear, I support the right to privacy
and I support bodily autonomy. Interrupting people, like making sure.
Well, I support those things. So it's not; those are not in conflict for me. I just don't think those things mean that I have the right to take the life of my child.
Right. I can see to you that an abortion is wrong, right? Let's just agree on the same moral framework that abortions are bad. The termination of a life is something that's bad. That doesn't necessarily mean that needs to be illegal. For all those Jordan Peterson fans out there, Jordan Peterson made this argument. Jordan Peterson specifically said that even if something is wrong, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's something that should be illegal.
Hey, localists, remember our veganism discussion where you kept saying the opposite of that? Where if you kept saying, if I believe something to be wrong, I necessarily have to believe that it should be illegal. What? Oh, Jordan Peterson agrees with me? What? That's crazy. That's crazy. Just because you don't quote unquote support something doesn't mean you believe it that it has to be legal. What? We
would all agree that killing is wrong, but we understand just war theory that there are certain instances in which killing is something that's acceptable.
I see where you're going with this, and I agree with you, largely speaking. I think,
so when it comes to something like abortion, when it, again, is trying to supersede the right to bodily autonomy, this is not something that we can guarantee.
So
you can't guarantee to preserve that life in favor of making a woman make decisions.
The presumption at the heart of what you're saying is that a woman without abortion, women are going to die. I think that's the presumption, and so their rights are somehow in conflict. The right to life of the child.
I wouldn't say that women are going to die, but going through pregnancy is not a simple process.
It's not a simple process.
9 months of physiological.
I don't know what you mean, but localists, we ran through this 100 times. I don't want racist people to exist in society. I like in my ideal world, there are no racist people that exist in society. I also don't think it should be illegal to be racist. These things are not contradictory. Jordan Peterson agrees with me, and Jordan Peterson can't possibly be wrong, right? He would never be wrong. Yeah.
But with good medical care, you can care for both the mother and the child. And so my view is that you should not pit their rights against each other, but we should care for both mother and child, both as patients. It's not that the child's more important than the mother. It's not that the mother's more important than the child. It's that we care for both patients.
Yeah, and
healthcare professionals can do that when they put in the work.
That's the beauty of having a pro-choice perspective, is because if women want to go through that, we absolutely should be providing.
But that's an elective abortion that you're referring to. The woman is choosing it because of her own personal reasons for whatever they might be. It's
because
not
it changes her body. Again, it's not a simple process.
Well,
if someone doesn't want to go through those physiological changes, they should have the ability to make that decision.
To be clear, when you have a newborn child on your hands.
Yes, those are not again, whether or not I quote unquote support something existing or want something to exist in society. I don't want racism to exist in society, right? I also don't think the state should mandate that everyone not be racist, at least in a sense. I mean, I think it's justified for the state to mandate certain things, like, you can't discriminate on employment based on race, but I don't think the state should mandate, compromise on the principles of free speech and mandate that everyone not speak in a racist manner, right? Even if I don't want, racist speech to exist in society. In my ideal world, there would be no racist speech because no one would be racist or whatever. That doesn't entail that I support the state using force to mandate something be illegal, because it can conceptually be the case where something is bad, but it gets even worse if the state despite that, outcomes are not maximized when the state uses force to coercively prevent people from doing it, right? Like,
that changes your body too. That child needs to nurse. That child needs to feed off of you.
This is something that you can give to an adoption facility. You don't have to go through that yourself once the baby is born. When you are changing your body, that is not something that you're deciding
here's the bottom line as I see it.
Based on policy that you're advocating for.
Parents have natural rights and natural responsibilities. A parent has a natural right and responsibility. The responsibility for a mother does include letting that child grow and not killing that child before the child can survive outside of the womb.
So you're saying it's a de facto
that is a natural
guardianship.
responsibility.
Is that what you're
It is, and that's how we all started our life.
But it's
and
not
that's because the
something-
child has a right to live. Thank you. Hello.
Hello.
What's your name?
My name is Zach.
Zach, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So I
watched a little bit of this person too. I don't remember what they talked about, but I think I watched a little bit of the first two girls, and I watched a little bit of this person, and I was like, hey, wait, I should just, because I was skimming through it, I was like, I should stream Minecraft in Jubilee. Best stream ever. What am I doing? Doing this off stream?
Standpoints that the laws in the United States should represent the general public's opinions. And when you look at the bell curve,
that quite literally just does not follow. If you want them to be able to exist in society, it means you want them to exist in society. What do you define want? No, I would say no. Just again, I in my ideal world, there are no racist people in society. And it doesn't entail that I want the state to enforce that nobody speak racistly. Oh my God, man. Oh, what the fuck?
the majority, upwards of 70% of Americans believe that we have the right to abortions up to a certain point. Everyone has a different view on when that life becomes a life, but I think that it's so wrong to only cater to the very farthest end of the bell curve when you're cutting off the rights from so many women whose opinions are valid and who might have so many different reasons to get an abortion, economic, just they're not in the place to have a family.
There are often Supreme Court decisions that happen, that are made, that do not reflect the general poll consensus of the country. And this is also the story of part of our history, some of our worst human rights abuse as a country. If you had taken a poll of the Deep South, you would have found them during the time of slavery that they were for slavery. That was horrible, right? But you don't take...
I mean, obviously, hit them with the slavery reductio every time, based. Obviously.
A poll and say, well, you support slavery, so slavery is just. So that's why we live in a democratic republic that also has a judicial system that also looks at what is constitutional, what is not. And abortion is unconstitutional because we have a 14th Amendment that provides equal protection under the law for all persons, regardless of the color of your skin, developmental abilities, your sex, your race, anything. You should have equal protection under the law. And the child in the womb has the same human person as a child will be when the child's born, and they deserve equal protection.
The whole reason that Roe v. Wade was put into place, though, is because it was determined that it was too difficult to determine exactly when a life becomes a life.
There was no poll with Roe v. Wade to say, let's legalize abortion or not. That was actually 9 unelected men on the Supreme Court, 7 who decided that they were going to make abortion the law of the land. And it undid the laws of many pro-life states. I believe that putting life starting at conception is so unfair to the women whose lives are actually being affected by these long-term decisions. I understand that from your perspective, you think that a woman should have the child no matter what because it's too difficult to decide, like, case to case or something. Well, and we're big advocates for adoption too, because if they feel they're not in the position to be a parent,
if the child is going to be born without a brain, if the child, they can place the child for adoption. It's not fair to make a woman go through all that, and because it is permanent damage to a woman's body to bring that baby along for 9 months. Just for a lot of cases, the reason that they choose an abortion is for their safety or for their long-term health effects.
Do you know the reason for over 90% of abortions?
Why?
They have nothing to do with safety. They have nothing to do with abuse. They have nothing to do with health conditions. They're purely done. They're called done for the convenience of the woman. And there's 1 million abortions a year, so it's hundreds of thousands of abortions that are done because the woman.
My belief is that the laws should be put in place.
I love fun abortions. I love fun abortions. Back to that topic again.
Thank you. I do believe that the decision should be between a doctor and the woman because those are the people who have the best interest for the woman.
One localist v. 9 elite debate.
Hello, what's your name?
That'd be awesome.
Soraya, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Okay, so I'm not really.
Locally, you should apply. You know what? I actually did almost apply to be on this Jubilee episode. I remember I got it because I get their email alerts or whatever. And I was like, most of them are entirely uninteresting, but like this one was like, oh, that's a little bit interesting. But then they said, oh, you gotta make a video of yourself. And I was like, I was in the bath at the time. I'm like, I'll make a video when I get out. And then I never did it. So we could have had Nonfon here. Okay. not that I could have done any better than that. Fuck, I forget that guy's name. The bass guy who gave the epic insane reductio. I'm gonna use that reductio from now on. That was insanely good.
I honestly just rather hear your opinion.
Thanks for being here.
100%, yeah, because it is a complex issue, and I absolutely
So I apologize for the debate this already, but I feel like this whole convo would be expedited if pro-choice ate the bull and stated that these two sides don't agree on when a human life begins. Yeah, they only got they had a bunch of like weird prompts before, and like and they just debated like weird stuff that I don't find particularly relevant, like how much abortion increases like suicidality among women or whatever, and like that's not a topic I'm very informed of. But yeah, they obviously just disagree on what constitutes not just a human life, but what like a life worthy of value, right? Something worthy of moral consideration, and they spoke around that for a while. They did eventually get there with like two people. With two Destiny viewers. Unironically, I think one of them was a Destiny viewer because he had like the almost exact same like argument in the exact same format. Not that I would ever do anything like that because I'm not a Destiny viewer, right, guys? But yeah.
Yes, then. If we ban it, how does that play out? Like, how does that look then? Let's say we ban it today. What does the next year, 5 years look like?
It's a really good question. And it's one we think and talk about all the time. And in pro-life states, it's ones that they're wrestling with, right? Because they banned abortion in many states in this country already. Yeah. And it looks like a few things. First of all, I think we got to double down on resources for women. There are a lot of resources that exist, but sometimes women don't know that they exist and that there's people that want to help them. A lot of women don't know, for example, that with adoption, that there are literally over 1 million couples who would want to adopt a newborn baby, and you can actually pick and choose the couple that would adopt. You can pick and choose how much involved you want to be in that child's life if you choose adoption or if you choose parenting, that there are a lot of organizations that want to help. In California, there are hundreds of pregnancy resource centers that provide free confidential care to women before and after birth. People need to know that this stuff exists so that they can get the help that they deserve.
I don't actually disagree with that. I'm more
and then
curious,
also education on the trauma of abortion, the harm of abortion. I think that's also part of what's important.
Kind of like to balance it out, right? Because right now it's very much like abortion-centric narrative, where it's like that's the way to go. So you kind of want to balance it out by saying, hey, actually, there's an alternate way of doing things.
Exactly.
What I'm more curious about is abortions will continue to happen. You probably agree with that, even though there's a ban.
Yes, there will be, and that's the thing with any ban of anything, there will be still some illegal activity or things that happen.
How do you want to address that?
Well, I think that we need to work on helping women never choose that. But using free will as much as we can.
They will still choose it.
For those that do, I would definitely say make sure that they get good medical care, because at the end of the day, abortion is dangerous, whether it's legal or illegal. Abortion hurts women.
The ones that choose to get abortions.
There needs to be, I think, good medical care for women, and especially
I'm more curious about because if it's a ban.
She's dancing around the punishment for women thing so hard. I don't know if she actually supports punishing women who get abortions illegally, but. She's trying to dance around it so hard, man. Come on.
And then it's illegal. So
are you asking who should be criminalized?
I guess, yeah. Do you think that it should be criminalized?
I think the abortionist should absolutely be criminalized, 100%.
The doctor.
The doctor or the person that's selling abortions, yes.
Pause.
Hi, Sassy.
Hi. So we were just talking about, you brought up the fact that you think doctors should be, what was it?
Liable if they commit abortion.
Now, because it's murder, in your opinion.
Yes, just like there are already statutes for illegal abortions. My
question to that is
just to be clear, there's already statutes for illegal abortion.
God, totally. I know. This is another thing, by the way. I think I've mentioned this 3 times. Lila is religious. She believes in the soul. She believes the soul enters the zygote at the moment of conception. As much as like she'll give her secular arguments, you're never going to change her mind with a secular argument because she is religious.
There's several of you I'd love to keep talking to, so I really appreciate it.
Please, if you're not a coward,
I actually would love to chat more with Dana. I think she's behind me.
No, I was gonna say, if she wasn't a coward, she would have chosen the guy. I think like Evan was his name or something, or Eric maybe. Oh no, yeah, Evan, I'm pretty sure. Coward. She knows she would lose. Oh.
I chose Dana because I didn't feel like we actually got to have the conversation. I got to hear from Dana.
Dude, unironically, I hate to say it, Bubby, but like the men were way better at arguing than a woman. They were though.
about some of your position and why you believe what you believe. I didn't really feel like we got to dialogue about that a lot, so I'd love to do that more, and I'd also love to hear what your claim would be that you want to talk about as well.
So my claim is that my bodily autonomy is the prevailing right in this debate.
Thank you. And I feel like that's something that's come back up again and again in the conversation as a through theme that we're having. So I hear what you're saying. I agree that we have bodily autonomy. I have the right to not someone to come and hit me, hurt me, etc. But there's a very unique relationship when a woman is pregnant with another human life, with another body, and that's her son or her daughter. Whether she wanted to get pregnant, intended to get pregnant, when she's pregnant, there's that unique relationship that springs into existence with the existence of that new human life. And a few times it's been said today, well, the science doesn't matter. We're just having my opinion, my personal story. The science does matter a lot, because science can help tell us what is real and what is not real. And science does tell us when human life begins, and it doesn't magically.
I can't. Hold on, I want to look this up now. I don't think Lila believes in evolution. I'm pretty sure she doesn't. This was 3 weeks ago. Yeah, our Adam and Eve, our biological ancestors. I'm pretty sure. Well, I'll skim through some of this, but I am almost certain she is like a fundamentalist Christian, like literally believes Genesis should be taken literally.
Let's take that for a moment. There's so much good stuff to unpack here, and we're going to get to the proof for the existence of God in maybe towards the end after exploring this piece, because I think it's connected.
So like, see, like
to the Big Bang Theory coexisting with the Genesis account and both being true, parts of the Genesis account potentially being allegorical, as you're saying, but there's core truths that don't change, like the man and woman, you created them, in the image of God, you created them. But something I've always wondered is, there's a theory of evolution. Of course, there's macro and micro evolution, and certain aspects of it that we know are more maybe provable than others. But this idea that God created man innocent with free will, and then we chose to sin, and we broke, we brought upon the curse of death, etc. Right? How does that fit into the scientific reality of the origin of the universe and the origin of humankind? Were there two initial adult human beings that dropped out of nowhere? Were there maybe 1,000 of them that God just created as adults potentially, that then were given the choice whether or not they were going to obey, and then disobeyed, and that disobedience carried on for generations? What's your take on that?
Well, by the way, I have a book called Science, Reason, and Faith, Discovering the Bible, put out by our Sunday Visitor Press, OSB Press. I have this explained in the first 3
seconds. Yeah, she literally does not believe. She believes in intelligent design. That's why, again, earlier she said the uterus is designed for a fetus or whatever, because she believes in intelligent design. She doesn't believe in evolution.
Begin at birth. Human life begins before.
She doesn't care about science. She actively denies science. Like, you actively deny an entire branch of science, evolutionary biology. What do you mean you care about science? What, like, no, you don't. Like,
before birth, and human life begins at the moment of fertilization. And so, I'm all for bodily autonomy. I believe that our bodily autonomy as women ends where another human being's life begins. And when I'm pregnant, there's another body inside my body, and they deserve the right to live. And yes, that's going to mean maybe a few months of me trying to hopefully take care of my body because it's feeding that body, and then delivering that child. And if I feel I can't parent, then there's other options. But I still have a responsibility not to kill that child via an abortion.
So I'm going to tell you a story. So I am a mother. I have a 22-year-old son who has autism. And I became pregnant when he was around 6 years old. And I didn't want to have that child. And so I had an abortion. And I had the abortion when I was about 6 weeks along because it wasn't a child. It was a mass of cells. And I made that decision very distinctly. I didn't have any regrets about that decision. I actually didn't have a lot of debate about that decision. I had a child where I lived in a state where we didn't have an insurance mandate. So I was working really hard to get my son the help that he needed with his autism. And I did not want to be pregnant. I was in a relationship. We made a choice because that was a choice that I made for the mass of cells that was in my body.
I totally hear what you're saying.
And I need you to understand that it wasn't about what am I killing, what am I keeping alive? It was what was best for my body, because I then would have had to carry that child to term. And I also want you to know that when I had my child,
Biden admin. Oh, we're talking about Biden now. Biden admin censoring big tech explicitly bridges free speech and freedom of press. I don't know. I didn't pay attention in 2020. I guess with the new Mark Zuckerberg shit, maybe I'll do a day researching this. I'm not convinced that Biden ever really did that. I don't even think the Twitter files revealed that much.
Life, which is fertilization.
But that's your opinion. So there isn't actually scientific evidence that states that human life begins at conception.
There is a tremendous amount of
scientific evidence. Kill me. No, why do we do this? No, why do we? Who cares? Who cares if it's life or not, brother? We already ran through this. It doesn't make sense.
textbook, you're going to find that the development process begins with fertilization of the human life.
What it says is that
and also if you're in an in vitro fertilization clinic,
what it says
if you're a technician,
is that there is cell multiplication.
But it's not just any cell multiplication, because you're made of cells, right? I'm made of cells,
well, sure.
right? Okay, you and I are clumps of cells, right?
100%.
But we're unique clumps of cells. We're individual clumps of cells that constitute a whole human. And at the moment of fertilization, you know what you got? You got a whole human. They're very small, but you have a whole human that just needs. You have a whole human at the moment of fertilization that just needs time and nourishment to grow, but has a unique genetic distinction.
But it doesn't
always
go that way. So, for
example,
example,
you could miscarry, yes.
Yeah. So
but
when I had my miscarriage, I had a clump of cells that then grew and then did not grow into a human child.
I have a question for you. You said you have a son? How old is he now?
22. He's 20. Oh my goodness.
You look great, by the way. I have a question. I'm just curious because you're talking about the baby you miscarried, the baby you had the abortion of, and you called them clumps of cells. Did you see your son when he was unborn as a clump of cell, or did you consider him as a cell?
I didn't consider him a clump of cells.
You did or you didn't?
I did, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So for you didn't really feel connected to even him until he was born.
So I knew that until he was actually out of my body, that there was not necessarily a live birth that was going to happen. So because I lost a child, and I understood that having a pregnancy does not mean that you have a live birth and a baby at the end.
That is absolutely true.
And so for me, that choice about what is happening to my body,
were you sad after the miscarriage? I'm just curious, or were you kind of feel fine afterwards? Because I had a miscarriage too. I felt deeply sad by it.
So
women feel differently.
I was ambivalent. Okay. I was not ready to have a child, and I was going through a divorce at the time.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it sucked.
It sucked.
But also, it was okay because I was not ready to be at that point, and I didn't even make that decision. My body made that decision for me.
I hear everything you're saying, but here's the reality. You're strong. You are the one when you're pregnant. If I get pregnant, I've been pregnant now 4 times. I'm more powerful than that baby, right? Because I have the power to talk, walk, do whatever I'm going to do, and that baby is completely dependent on me, right? And even when there's a newborn, totally dependent on everybody around them, if not their biological mother, whoever they're handed off to, right? It's incredibly important for rule of law, for justice, for human rights, that we are especially careful to protect the rights of those that are dependent and weak. Because if we live in a society that just says the strong get to choose what they want because they can, that's not a just or a loving society. And that's why I'm so pro-life. I'm so pro-life because that baby, you're right, they're totally dependent on the mother. Absolutely. They're completely unable to defend themselves, speak for themselves. And that's all the more reason why we as a civil and just society should care about their right to live and, by the way, help that mother. It goes 2 and 2, right? Because you can't just care for the baby and not care for the mother. You got to care for them both.
And when that is a viable life outside of my body, 100%.
Well, we should care at the beginning of human development. That's my position.
Yep, and
wait, okay, no, you know what, maybe, okay, they kind of have a disagreement on what we should value here, okay, maybe they'll actually have that conversation, of what, what life should we value and what life shouldn't we value, okay, maybe they'll have that conversation, maybe,
and women who are pregnant need extra care too. It's not like you just get care when the baby's born, you should get extra care before.
Yes, they do.
Because you're carrying a new life.
While that is still in my body, this is my body. And that is my choice about what happens to the things that are in my body. That is the choice.
Here's a question for you. Your womb. What is the womb designed for? A woman's uterus. What's it designed for?
It is designed to carry a clump of cells to eventually, sometimes, grow a fetus.
And how did you start your life?
Come on. I mean, first of all, it's again. First of all, designed because again, she believes in intelligent design because she's fucking retarded. But anyway, like what a cope answer from the other woman though. Are really designed sometimes to maybe bring you know what she's asking, you know what she's doing, man. Come on.
Come on, where were you before you were born?
I was in my mother's egg sac.
I'm aware that you think that will
uterus, right?
No, I was in my mother's egg sac. That
wasn't you yet. An egg is not you.
The egg was a part of me, and then the other part of me was in my dad's, I guess, testicles.
So,
I mean,
it wasn't you yet because you is when there's a whole human, right, and a unique individual
so when I was born,
identity.
Then yes, then was me.
But the science shows. Come on, the science shows at the moment of fertilization, sperm egg fusion,
the science doesn't actually show that.
It does show that you have unique individual genetic identity that's distinct from your parents.
The science shows that when an egg is fertilized, that there is cell multiplication.
But what kind of cell multiplication? It's not like skin cells.
Well,
it's not skin cells. What is it?
It becomes skin cells.
Well, it develops its skin eventually. But what is it? What is it? Come on. What is it?
It's a mass of cells.
But what is it? It's a human embryo, right?
Well, yes.
That's developing rapidly.
But it is a clump of cells.
But we already said we are clumps of cells. You're kind of using that pejoratively, like, oh, you're a clump of cells. You can be aborted. You can be miscarried. It doesn't matter. Who cares? You and I are clumps of cells. It's a little dehumanizing. You're being a little dehumanizing.
Yes, I am being dehumanizing because it is.
Why? Because we are clumps of cells. You acknowledge that.
Yeah.
So you're not wanting to dehumanize us, right? Why wouldn't you dehumanize us?
Because until you are actually outside of my body, there are no rights. Because if there were, my friends,
but I keep asking you why, and you keep saying just because it's in your body. Why does that
there would
child
already
have
be
rights?
laws on the books. And currently, there are no laws on the books that say that anything that happens before that birth means that they are not actually live.
That's actually an act.
I mean, first of all, like, just because there aren't any laws in the books or whatever doesn't mean you don't think people have a right to it or whatever. But also, like, we have abortion. What do you mean we have abortion bans?
So even in states like California, there's such a thing. There has been such a thing until recently, last 2 years, as illegal abortions. Are you aware of that? So even in states that are blue states, there are illegal abortions where it says, yes, before birth, this is a person that has some rights and we're going to protect them. And similarly, if you're Scott Peterson,
illegal medical procedure.
One other example.
It's about the medical procedure,
another
not
example,
about the actual
here's
life.
another example. Scott Peterson, he killed his pregnant wife, Lacey, and their unborn son, Connor. Connor, in your view, was just a clump of cells. He wasn't burned yet, but his dad killed him. Should he have been penalized for killing both his wife and the pregnant part of his wife, the baby, the boy, his son, Connor?
No.
So you think Scott Peterson should have got off scot-free for killing an 8-month-old unborn son?
Scott Peterson should have been penalized for killing his live wife.
But not Connor. Connor had no
Connor
rights.
was not alive. Connor was in her body.
So if I'm a woman,
Connor
so if a
was in
woman's
her body
boyfriend
and was not a human being with rights on this planet.
This is very dark because you're saying if a woman is pregnant and her boyfriend slips drugs into her drink to force an abortion on her, she wants to have this baby, he puts drugs in her drink. Would you say that there should be no penalties for that man and what he did to her?
Against the mother's
But you just said the baby
body.
is not born yet, so it has no rights.
That is against the mother's body, not against that. That child does not have rights.
It's just a drug designed to kill the baby. It's just designed to kill the baby in her womb.
But it's designed to harm the tissue that is in her body because that's her body.
So you're saying it would have been wrong. Scott Peterson should have been given penalties for killing Connor.
For harming Lacey.
But not for harming Connor.
For harming Lacey.
So if a man...
So Connor is a part of Lacey, then it's harming Lacey.
So if a man kills his girlfend's unborn baby, he should not be penalized for killing the unborn baby, only for in some way harming her. That's time. Thank you. I mean, I thought it was great. I really appreciated everyone coming and giving it their best.
Come on. Please let Evan speak. Please let Evan say I ethically owned her and this bitch didn't pick me because she was scared.
To have conversations that were meaningful.
Come on.
I think this is
wait again. Sorry. I shouldn't. Yeah, I call everyone bitch. Okay. I'm trying not to demean women. Okay. My bad, chat. Don't cancel me.
That we're facing as a country.
I thought it was really interesting myself as a mother to talk to another mother who's on the other side of this. I was disappointed though that I didn't hear any arguments I hadn't heard before just doing this activism for 7 years.
I wasn't going to change her mind and she wasn't going to change my mind, which is often the frustration going into these.
Do you need me to be PG-13 or no? Oh, okay, because I think Lila's she is okay with holding a 10-year-old down, making her give birth, but she's gross. That's what I think of Lila.
There were some women that shared that they had had abortions. Obviously, that can be really raw. I think that goes to one of the things that we try to spread awareness about, which is that abortion does hurt women, that abortion leaves trauma.
Honestly, I wanted to swing. I really wanted to swing. Your whole lack of empathy and you telling me that my child should be standing right here, like, I promise you could have gotten Jerry Springer real quick if y'all had allowed it. You absolutely know nothing of this experience, which is why I like that a lot of the black and brown women really got in her face about that.
She felt like she had no choice. She was saying I was drug addicted, or I don't remember all the details of her story, but if you felt like you had to have this abortion because of domestic violence and poverty, is that really a choice?
So I firmly believe that Dana and Zeke were the strongest debaters in this.
Mason's really well informed. Mason's really smart.
Two that really stood out to me were Cece and Dana. Miss Dana, hands down. Just to see someone who had been through what I had been through, but older, and having that wisdom, having that patience,
being able to have an opportunity to push back against a narrative
all
that is
sleeping on Evan. What do you mean, bro?
I think is always a valuable space.
Is there a middle ground where abortion is okay in some circumstances? I would say no. These are lives, human lives, and it's life or death for that child.
Is this just what people, or do they talk this way because this is what people care about more? Am I the weird one? Am I like the weird like philosophy bro or something? And like no one actually cares about those arguments. They care more about like the random like anecdotal like personal experience. Am I? I feel this dumb.
Know that there will ever be a middle ground because what I'm talking about is healthcare and what she's talking about is her emotions.
Honestly and truly, yes, we can find a middle ground, but there has to be a lot less shaming from pro-life people because I don't care what you say, I'm not a murderer for choosing myself. And honestly and truly, I believe it was her children. In this situation, she'd have a completely different tone. They often do.
I think it's incredibly important to have conversations with people that you disagree with. And so I'm really grateful for everyone that came today, and I'd love to do it again.
Kill me. I mean, we had two good people. Evan only got like a little bit of time to speak. Like, God, that reductio was so perfect. Oh my God, perfect setup. Just to be clear, you would agree, you would prefer a world with less rights violations and a world with more rights violation, right? And he's like, yes. And then instant, epic, gaped, owned, reductioed. If you want to chat with me live, sub here or go to Nonfon 420 on Twitch or Kick via the links below. Once again, please like and sub to help with the algorithm, and consider sending a donation through YouTube Super Thanks to directly support me, and I'll make sure to reply to any question you ask. See you guys next time.